A burning mansion. In the flames, a terrible secret.
The fire appears to be intentionally set.
It shook that community to the core, especially when those horrific details started to come out about what happened inside that house.
A mother, father, 10-year-old son, and the family housekeeper, all held hostage for almost 20 terrifying hours. Finally, a ransom in cash. But it doesn't save the helpless captives murdered in cold blood. Only the smoke escaping out a window. This in a wealthy Washington enclave, the vice president's neighborhood.
This could happen there? What about the rest of us ordinary Joes? What chance do we have?
Tonight, 2020 takes you inside the mystery of the D.C. mansion murders. New details, new voices.
My guess is they used the 10-year-old to get whatever they wanted out of the adults.
I can't stop thinking about that day.
We'll hear from the surviving housekeeper about life at the mansion.
Was there anything in the Savopoulos' life that suggested they had enemies?
Room by room, clue by clue. The burning Porsche, the shadowy figure caught on surveillance cameras, the telltale takeout meal.
Tries to burn the house down, but guess what doesn't burn? The pizza with his saliva on it.
Boom, they get a hit. We've got a name, we've got a face.
Police have their target.
Thus begins an intense 48-hour nationwide manhunt.
We really had a lot of motivation to catch this guy.
The high-stakes capture of suspect Darren Wint through the eyes of the U.S. Marshal who stalked him up and down the East Coast.
So this is where it happened? At the red light, that's where we made our move.
So you had to block him in from all four sides in some way.
That's right.
And new revelations about that prime suspect. Tonight, in a 2020 exclusive, his history of violence and knives.
He was windmilling, just kept coming at me.
You can't take your eyes off of this case because it's just that horribly incredible.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. David is off tonight, and this is a fast-moving case. Just 1 month ago, it sent a shiver into every family's living room. A mother, a father, their young son, and a housekeeper spending a terrifying day captive in their own home. There are disturbing questions behind that impressive front door and over those 19 hours as the family texted from inside, even ordering pizza. Could anyone have intervened? You'll have many questions of your own as the story proceeds, and we're live tweeting throughout the show, #2020. So ask us as we piece together new clues just out in the last 2 days. Our Ryan Smith tells us step by step how we ended up here.
It wasn't supposed to be like this. Two teenage sisters mourning their murdered parents and little brother 11 days ago. Their multi-million-dollar home boarded up, newly surrounded by a locked chain-link fence, starkly out of place in this quiet, leafy D.C. neighborhood. An abrupt ending to a love story that seemed destined to play out as happily ever after. A love story that starts in high school. Amy Martin and Savas Savopoulos meet at Springbrook High School in Silver Spring, Maryland, just north of Washington, D.C. They both decide to attend the University of Maryland, where a popular and outgoing Savas spends the next 4 years pursuing the beautiful but shy Amy.
Savas had a crush on her for all 4 years and pursued her and pursued her and pursued her, and she would never say yes until the very end. She finally agreed to go on a date, and the sorority sister said, thank God, because they seemed like a perfect match for each other.
He, a fifth-generation Washingtonian, the son of a metalworks company CEO. She, a self-described army brat whose family moved often. After college, the couple has a large Greek Orthodox wedding at Washington, D.C.'s St. Sophia's Cathedral. Their wedding picture, seen on their daughter's Instagram account, set up as a tribute.
What were they like together?
They love each other.
Their housekeeper of 2 decades, Nellie Gutierrez, says the Savopoulos were the picture-perfect couple.
In my 19 years, 20 years working for the family, they never fight. They were so good together. He really loved Amy very, very deep. And the same way, you know, she was the same way.
They would have 3 children, Abigail, now 19, Katerina, 16, and Philip, 10.
What about Philip, though? He's 10.
He was very, very mature. Like, he was very funny. You know, like when I always talk to him in Spanish, he gets so excited. But then when I talk to him a little bit more, he's like, no, I don't understand.
An incredibly tight-knit family, embodied by pictures posted as a memorial slideshow on the funeral home's website.
They adored each other. They were incredibly close.
Family friend Elizabeth Blaylock.
The parents loved those children, and the children had a wonderful relationship with each other. They were what everybody wants for their own family.
Sava, known for a strong work ethic and gentle manner, succeeds his father as CEO of American Iron Works, supplying metal not to your local 5 and dime, but projects like these.
The restoration of the Pentagon after 9/11, the new convention center, major hotels. So it wasn't a particularly sexy business, it was a very successful business.
Settling in as a young, wealthy Washington couple, they buy this gabled, red brick home in 2001 with its own library and music room, surrounded by manicured lawns, hedges, and gates.
You notice that as soon as you walk in the neighborhood, you see embassies just a block away. And Joe Biden's home is not more than a mile away from where they live.
So this is one of the most established neighborhoods in Washington. We're talking not only a stone's throw from the vice president's house, but this is sort of a billionaire's enclave. You'll have titans of industry, billionaires, senators, congressmen, ambassadors.
The Savapolises listed in Washington's Green Book, a who's who of D.C. elite. And as part of the D.C. elite, the Savapolises have money, a private jet, and a 44-foot yacht. And in 2012, while the girls are away in boarding school, the parents are living large with son Philip in the Virgin Islands.
They decided to sort of play hooky for a year. They rented a home that was on an island, so Amy would have to put Philip in a dinghy and row across a waterway to get him to school.
But the Savapolises weren't just living lives of selfish opulence. They were, in fact, incredibly charitable.
They were generous of their time and their money. They donated $100,000 to NCS, which was where their 2 girls went to school before going to boarding schools. Amy, every year for her son's class, used to buy everyone gingerbread houses at Christmas time, and she would come in and help put them together. So every boy wanted to be in his class.
And as their contemporaries would be playing golf and tennis at the Congressional Country Club, Sava's passion? Kenjutsu. An ancient form of samurai swordsmanship, studying the art form for 20 years. He was even about to fulfill his dream of having his own martial arts center scheduled to open here in Chantilly, Virginia, the week after he was killed. Like his father, 10-year-old Philip, known as Flip, also had a somewhat atypical and expensive hobby: go-kart racing, traveling around the country, competing in his own kart with his own sponsor.
This is not the thing your normal 10-year-old gets to do. Philip had a coach, and he had a top-of-the-line go-kart, and Amy made her son do his homework between races.
And it's at one of these go-kart tracks that Sava Savopoulos meets this man. Fellow racing enthusiast, 28-year-old Jordan Wallace. Wallace creating his own website with videos of the extreme sport.
My life is awesome. Like, I have nothing to complain about.
Their friendship would lead to a job as Sava's personal assistant, and Wallace would end up playing a pivotal role in those final hours before that quadruple murder.
That assistant says he got a call from Sava Savopoulos to bring $40,000 cash to the house.
Was it an armed robbery gone wrong, or a calculated murder for hire? Questions that would confound police and this once peaceful neighborhood.
I talked with several neighbors who said that they saw Philip playing in the driveway. They would see Amy walking around the neighborhood exercising. Now passing by that house is an eerie feeling for these neighbors, one that will never go away.
So this had to shake them to their core.
It shook that community to the core. It shook the city to the core.
When we come back, a family held hostage for 20 desperate hours, and how those last hours were spent. Takeout food order, a $40,000 cash drop, and a strange and eerily calm voicemail left for Nelly Gutierrez under duress.
Hey Nelly, it's Saba. Amy is in bed sick tonight.
Stay with us.
2020 continues with the mystery in the mansion. Here again, Ryan Smith.
It's Wednesday, May 13th, around 6 p.m. As Washington, D.C. is closing for the night and people are sitting in traffic, the Savopoulos family, with the teenage girls away at boarding school, are trying to survive the most desperate night of their lives. It begins with a terrifying home invasion. Also inside the mansion, the family's housekeeper, Vera Figueroa. She had been with the Savapouloses since her friend and the family's other housekeeper, Nelly Gutierrez, got her the job.
You helped her work with the Savopoulos family, right?
Yes, and I took her over there. And it was like almost 5 years ago.
Longtime crime reporter Jennifer Donnellan has been covering the story for ABC affiliate WJLA.
This started out as a story about a fire, right?
Right. We're trying to figure out, did something more sinister happen before the fire?
That evening, one of the captives, Sava Savopoulos, leaves a voicemail telling Gutierrez not to come in the next day.
It's Saba. I hope you get this message. Amy is in bed sick tonight, and she was sick this afternoon, and Vera offered to stay and help her out, so she's going to stay the night here.
But Gutierrez doesn't get the message until the next day.
When I got that message on Thursday, I was thinking, and I start calling them. So I call her and I say, "Hi Vera, what's going on?" No answer.
Vera's husband, Bernardo Alfaro, telling reporter John Gonzalez from WJLA he begins to worry at 5 o'clock Wednesday evening.
He goes home, starts calling her nonstop on her cell phone until the cell phone really stops ringing.
But at about 9 p.m., the strangest call by far. A call for a food delivery.
We can confirm that we made a delivery to the house.
Police say it's Amy Savopoulos calling Domino's Pizza. She orders 2 pies, gives a credit card number, and special instructions.
Don't ring the doorbell. I'm caring for a sick child. Just leave it on the front door.
The Domino's driver says the porch light is on, but the house is dark. As instructed, the driver leaves the pizza, rings the bell, and drives away, taking with him an opportunity to end the ordeal for the terrified people just inside.
There were things that happened that, of course, now we can look back on and say, what if?
Unbelievably, somebody in that house in these dark and brutal hours has an appetite, gobbling up most of the pepperoni pie, leaving a crust or two. Legal consultant Nancy Grace has followed this case.
To think that the killer actually ordered and ate a pizza during the middle of all this? I couldn't even eat after I heard about it. This guy's eating a pizza in the middle of it.
That night, Sava Savopoulos calls his assistant, Jordan Wallace, the man the family met at that go-kart track, making arrangements for a package to be delivered to the mansion the next morning.
Tell me about the call the assistant got.
He says he got a call from Sava Savopoulos to bring $40,000 cash to the house.
Police say that Wallace responded by text. Got your message. I'll call once I get the package. The longest night passes on Woodland Drive. As Thursday dawns, housekeeper Vera Figueroa's husband, after working an overnight shift, finds his wife still not home. He goes to the mansion looking for her.
Knocks on the door, rings the doorbell, nothing. But it's interesting, he says, it felt to me like someone was inside.
Could he hear them?
He just says he heard like noises, like someone shuffling inside.
Just then, his phone rings. It's Sava Savopoulos inside the house. They're just a few feet apart.
He says, Lito, I'm sorry I didn't call you last night. Vera stayed the night with us. And he said that he was apologizing profusely. So the husband, a little more satisfied with that, the fact that he's heard from someone, he goes home.
That morning, the next phase of the plan becomes apparent. Jordan Wallace meets another employee at a bank near Savopoulos' company, American Iron Works. He gets 4 neat stacks of $100 bills, 40 grand. Calls his boss for further instructions.
Sava Savopoulos tells his assistant to bring the cash to his house, come into the garage, the car's unlocked.
Not to give it to him, but to put it in a car, which you would think would set off alarm bells.
And then you wonder, why didn't that person call police?
Before Wallace makes the drop, police records show he sent a text at 9 a.m. to a woman with a picture of the cash. The woman responded, "Damn, I wonder how much it is." Wallace replies, "40. Wallace heads to the Savopoulos home and drops the cash on the driver's seat of a red sports car. At 10:26 a.m., Wallace sends this text message to his boss. Package delivered. The cash is dropped, but for some reason, that doesn't stop the crime. Police say the killing begins.
We were getting source information that there was blunt force trauma to the bodies, that there were stab wounds to the bodies, that the bodies also had been tied up.
The family's terrifying final moments alive, pieced together from police documents and ABC News sources. The three adults, Sava and Amy Savopoulos and Vera Figueroa, are held in an upstairs bedroom. The women are restrained. Sava is not.
Why do you think they moved the victims upstairs?
Because they have less profile.
ABC News tracked down these blueprints of the home, which we reviewed with former FBI agent Brad Garrett.
If you left a window open, left a curtain open, you could see what's going on. If you move them up, it's more difficult to see what's going on.
The adults sustained terrible fatal wounds. They were hit and stabbed. Just days ago, police revealing a baseball bat with what appeared to be blood on it was discovered in the room. The little boy, Philip, separated from the grown-ups in another bedroom.
The son is where it appears, according to court documents, is where they set that fire. The fact that the three adults were in one room, you have to wonder how much the suspects were using that son as a point to extort them.
Once 10-year-old Philip's room is set on fire, the killers flee.
To think that a human would torture and murder a 10-year-old little boy while his mother and father sit in the next room hearing him scream in order to get money, it's heinous.
Before the fire can spread to where the adults are, the fire department gets the alarm. It's 1:30 p.m. on Thursday. The story blows up.
The case that is shaking the neighborhood to its core tonight.
The media descends on the neighborhood.
Crime scene investigators have been here all day long.
Early that afternoon, someone notices Amy Savopoulos' blue Porsche is missing from the house. Police ask the public for help, but it wasn't hard to find. Just follow the smoke. The Porsche torched in a church parking lot in Maryland.
Now, what came with that, which was critical, was surveillance video. They were able to capture video of a man exiting out of that car and leaving the scene. They immediately put that video out to the public.
Notice enhanced video shows a man carrying a white bucket. Jot that down. Back at the burned mansion, authorities are already sifting through the grisly scene, starting to ask how whoever did this got in the house in the first place.
They look for a door that has some vulnerabilities. For example, you have two French doors over here. The police are reporting that there was a French door kicked. There is a footprint on the door itself.
This is the picture. That print.
How much more difficult is it for them to try to figure this out with that house being burned so badly?
The whole reason why you set something on fire in a case like that is to get rid of evidence.
But getting rid of the evidence is not as easy as it seems. Not with the country's best crime fighters on the case.
They're going to comb through that house and try and find whatever evidence they can to close this case and to capture everyone involved.
When we come back, a microscopic clue in the strangest place. And the daring late-night manhunt and takedown. U.S. Marshals tell us they're forced to do something they've never tried before.
And he said, move, go, go, go.
Stay with us.